Hey guys, welcome to the last episode of EVs Exposed. If you haven't been keeping up with the rest of the series, I'll link them all in the description. Please enjoy the last episode, and thanks for watching.
So, okay, on the topic of media, the automakers also control what we receive in terms of our perception of EVs, our perception about how they are good for the environment. I don't think there's an argument against that. Everyone's saying, oh, lithium, you got to mine it and you got to ship it to one place. It has to get processed and shipped to another place. Like, people don't realize with gas cars, it's one and the same. The amount of components that are outsourced to build a car domestically is insane. A lot of people who err on the side of protectionism like to say, like, keep cars being built in America, keep cars being built locally, eat your import. I've heard that way too many times. I don't know exactly what they mean when they say it, but I know it's like derogatory towards buying cars from overseas. But I don't think they realize that a lot of the cars that are being built in the country, a lot of the components of them are shipped from different countries. Like we have plastics coming from China, we have components sub-assembled in Mexico. I can't think of a car that has all of its parts that are built all in the same company, manufactured, processed all in the same company, because it's cheaper for companies to do that outside work and ship it back in. And if you wanted to make the argument that EVs are really wasteful in that sense, that you have to get different components, sub-assembled or processed somewhere else and then shipped in for assembly, you can't make that argument because that is something inherent with gas cars as well. The net gain or the net effect of gas cars on the environment is still way higher than EVs, despite what a lot of people anti-EV would say.
Yeah, there was, people get pretty militant about it on the internet. Like there was one story going around about how the Prius is the least environmentally friendly car you could buy, and that obviously, if you see that title, you're like, oh well, that's very controversial. I'm going to read that, right? So you read that headline, you're like, geez, maybe it's not all it's made out to be. I want to read this. And what they were saying was that in Sudbury, they have nickel mines, right?
Yep.
And they were showing pictures of a tailings pond spill in Sudbury where they screwed up all this, I guess it was forest or something, a tailings pond spilled from this nickel mine. And completely screwed up the environment there. It was a big cleanup, big disaster. And they were attributing that to mining nickel for the NIMH batteries that went in the first gen Prius. And then that blew up, and a lot of criticisms were thrown around, and then it was determined that that spill happened 8 years before the Prius was even invented. So it was just you see pictures of it was fake news. I hate that term, but I've read so few objective studies on the environmental impact of EVs. Because you could look at, I was doing research for a school project about how to recycle batteries.
Yeah. And
there's two ways you could research that. You read it from Tesla, who's like, we recycle our batteries 100%, it goes into this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And, they're pretty salesman about it.
Yep.
And then you go to, I don't know, Sun News or something, where they're like, Tesla is one car has more environmental impact than, so many gas cars, and it's I'm not reading something about how it actually works. I'm reading someone's take on it.
Yeah.
And so there's that whole sensationalism around, because people love contradicting, the ideas of the masses, right? So it's a really attractive headline to put on a story that, those tree hugging, Oregon hipsters, they're actually destroying the environment. That's justice, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Those hipsters. But and gearheads. Oh, is that a derogatory term for you guys? Sorry.
No. We love it.
So gearheads, they have all the media they want to consume about, the intricacies of engine cars. You buy a Hemi car, that means it has a hemispherical piston.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a very specific detail of this car.
Yeah.
And people are buying it. It's I love, I want to buy a Hemi car because they have this, performance. You never read about an electric car in the same way. they'll be like, oh, it has this many miles of range and it has this many motors. And be like, okay, but like, what kind of motors? How big is the battery? How much energy does it consume per kilometer? What's the control strategy on the motor? Like, what's the battery chemistry? How much regen torque can you supply? And you will not read any of that.
Yeah.
Places like electric, they write about stuff like that. But the limiting factor is like the manufacturers are not going to tell you exactly what goes into the car.
Yep.
Because that's proprietary. They're trying to get their competitive advantage.
Yep. This early on in the stage of
integrating
EVs into society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish every time I see a headline about like this new car, I was like, okay, tell me the battery size and tell me how much power the motor has. And you rarely find both of those in the headline.
Yeah.
Or in the story. It's always this car can go this many kilometers.
Yeah.
It's great, but like a car with a massive battery could obviously go very far, but like how well do they convert the energy? And there are a lot of journalists out there who really get down into the patents or look at like the import documents that are publicly available and like really can see like what's actually happening in production or what parts they're using. You can draw conclusions from that, right? So yeah, there are enthusiasts out there, but it's not mainstream the same way. Like if I went to a dealership and if the salesperson was able to say like, oh yeah, our power electronics are made with like the new gallium nitride semiconductors, which is like cutting edge. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, maybe I want to buy this car more because like they're actually doing cutting edge stuff and they're advertising it, right?
Yeah.
But like, oh, this car has 10 kilowatts, so like 14 horsepower.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like a 14 horsepower car.
No, yeah, it's all relative. It's power to weight, right?
Yeah, it's a beast, right? So, I don't think classifying or evaluating the car's performance just based on the horsepower or the power it can produce is quite fair when you have an engine versus a motor, because a 15 horsepower engine would not drive like this car.
Yeah.
It would feel a lot different.
Really slow.
Yeah, it would feel really slow because you have to get it spinning fast enough to produce 15 horsepower.
Yep.
But we can produce 15 horsepower off the line, right? So it feels like a rocket. So yeah, I feel like maybe there's a better way of classifying a car other than just power, right? Torque or who knows.